Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about medical coding, the career you make it. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, so I will start off by saying this first. You are the only person that is in control of your career. You are the only person in control of your career. Whether you enjoy it or not, whether you find peace in your life with it, it is entirely up to you. Yes, there are some things that you cannot control, like when, these employers, when they sell the organization to another company and people get downsized and things like that. However, there are things that you can control, like your ability to bounce back, your resilience, okay? Your knowledge base is another thing that you can fall back on. These are things that you have control over. No one is a victim in this game. Nobody, okay? Doesn't matter if you say, well, no, Blue, I don't feel like that. You have to be careful with your words and the words that you use. Today's episode was inspired by the following comment. And this is victim language the whole way. And I say this as a learning message, right? Let this be a learning message because of the simple fact that sometimes I think that people forget that they are capable of doing hard things. They are capable of doing more than what is just a regular rigmarole. Sometimes it causes us to be in uncomfortable situations, like having to be the new person and having to start all over again. But we have to remember that we only get one rodeo, okay? Rodeo means lifetime for those of you who don't know, okay? Rodeo means lifetime, all right? And we only get one. And so however you choose to spend your working years, whether you enjoy it or not, or whether you are fixated on retirement, you need to enjoy your life, okay? And you only do that by putting effort into things. And your working life is one of those things that you could put effort into. And if you say, well, no, Blue, my family is most important to me. Family should be important to you. Your friends, everybody else, all these people that you love should be important to you. However, there is another component of your work life. And that's just a natural societal thing that we all have to work, okay? Because we all have to make money in order to survive, right? So with that said, I'm going to read this message and then we're going to get into it. So the viewer says, I've been coding since 2013, CPC since 2018, laid off 2013, changed states, laid off again in 2021, job outsourced. 2024, the doctors we coded for left the company. The company transferred us into specialty roles with no extra pay. On my second job, in addition to my primary job, laid off again. The employer transferred us to specialty, no pay increase, and stressful all in 2024. I'm burnt out and debating on leaving healthcare. Worked in multiple areas since 2023. So here's the thing, okay? This person has many years of experience. They started in coding before we got into ICD-10. We are about on our 10-year anniversary. October 1 will be our 10-year anniversary for ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS because October 1, 2015 was the year that it was implemented in the United States. So they've been coding since 2013 when we used ICD-9, right? And then they got their credential 5 years later in 2018, which is fantastic. You have plenty of experience and plenty of time working in the field. So the thing that I will say is this, that she said that they got put into a new specialty without a pay increase. Did you ask for a pay increase? If you have all of that time in, hopefully you will have gotten exposure to a lot of these different things. So coding for a specialty is not going to be a big deal for you, right? Unless it's just like, okay, it's brand new to you, so then you have to learn. When we are put into different specialties to learn, it's better for our resume. Because while you may say, well, we didn't get extra money, and she moved around twice without extra money. And so again, we need to look at what we're putting out there in the universe, our energy. Well, what's in it for me? This person is saying, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? But are they advocating for themselves? Are they saying, hey, I've got all these years of experience. Are we going to get a pay increase? And the second that employer said no, if they directly said no, then she should have been on to another job. When you have experience, it is easier to move around in coding because you have experience. But if you're not conveying this experience well on a very well written resume only needs to be 1 page. And if you're not conveying it well in that 1 page, then you're always going to be stuck in positions like this. Because again, when you are out there, you have experience, and your experience can go anywhere, right? If you are coding for an orthopedic practice, and then you see another orthopedic practice down the road is looking for a coder, well, guess who can go over there? Guess who can apply to these remote positions because now they have experience? This is the one time you'll see me say that this is okay for coders to do, because if you've had experience in coding, then yes, by all means, you can apply for remote positions, and that opens you up to a lot of different companies that are all over the United States. But if you're brand new, no, you need to be working at a place first so that you can get that exposure around other coders, especially if you have no experience and background in medical. And please, guys, just spare me your comments about how you're a parent, you're a single parent, and you're trying to raise your kids. Guys, there's a time for things like that, okay? But this is to help you. When it comes to the electronic health record, it's going to be brand new to you. These are not the easiest things to navigate. I know, because the electronic health record that I currently work in is the most difficult. The creators should be tarred and feathered triple time for that, for the junk that they put together, because it's horrible. And I've worked with other electronic health records that people complained about, what I found no problem with, except for this one. But I couldn't imagine putting a new person that's coming into the industry into something like this, because it's junk. But that's just what I would have to say about that. But again, I'm trying to make it easier for new people that are coming in, okay, so that you can enjoy your career field. And I'm not saying to do in person forever, but I am saying to do it for a short amount of time, so at least you can get some exposure, because it's a lot different when you're trying to learn it on your own versus being around other coders. And even if you started during the pandemic, you say, well, Blue, I started during the pandemic and I was a remote coder. Well, congratulations. But guess what? There's probably a lot of things that you don't know that you don't know, because we all don't know what we don't know. And if you have never been exposed to other coders, if you've never had that in-person work experience, I guarantee you there's things that you're missing out on. You just don't know it. Okay? But with that said, when you have experience like this lady does, there's no reason that you need to stay. You are in control of what you tolerate from these employers. If they're saying, we're going to put you in this new specialty, you should take that challenge. You should be like, okay, I'm going to rise to this challenge, because they're not asking you to produce more. They're just asking you to do a different specialty. So guess what happens with this information? Now I can go on to our resume. And so instead of just being, for example, if they started in family practice and then now they were doing cardio and they were doing ortho and they were doing neuro. So it's not in conjunction with that family practice. Now we have these 3 other specialties that we can add to our resume, which means that we did minor procedures, major procedures for these other specialties as well. You know, for example, if you're working in the orthopedic clinic and you are coding for initial application of a cast, well, that's a 90-day global surgical procedure. Even though it's not done in the OR, it's done in there, right there in the clinic. The global period is still applies, so it's 90 days. So that's considered major procedure. Then there's also minor procedures that are performed in these clinics as well. Botox is performed in the neurology clinic. And of course, all of the injections that are performed in the orthopedic clinic, and those have a 0-day global period on them. So those are things that you're going to be able to build up your knowledge that way. It shouldn't be taken as, well, we had to learn the specialty stuff and it's such a pain. No, it's for your benefit, because again, the people that gain the most experience and the most variety of specialties are the ones that are going to be able to write their own ticket, because you're going to build up all of this knowledge and you're going to build up all of this strength as a coder, because you're seeing many different things and not just one thing. The person that is coding for physical therapy, occupational therapy, their code set for the procedures is very limited, okay, because it's limited on what the occupational therapists and physical therapists do. However, and for that whole situation, but however, if you are coding in the clinics like ortho and neuro and all them cardio, these are different, and they're applying evaluation and management in those situations. They're applying modifiers. They're doing the major procedures, minor procedures. So again, this is all filler for your resume, and it makes you look better. And it gives you that opportunity to test out different specialties that you may like so that you can get really good at them. And when you get really good is when you can command more money. Okay? But just automatically assuming that just because you get moved to a different specialty, oh, we didn't get more money. Well, if you're not advocating yourself, you never get more money, because an employer 99.999% of the time is never going to be like, oh yes, you've been doing a fantastic job, we're going to give you a raise. Who does that? You have to be the one to advocate for yourself in those types of situations. So if you feel like you're taking on a bigger workload, or you're taking on more different responsibilities other than coding, maybe say for instance you are doing training with other coders, or you are training providers and things like that, and you feel like this is something above and beyond what you normally have on your position description, then by all means, absolutely, then you advocate for yourself. Show what you've done and all of the numbers, so that they have the data to say that, hey, this person is worth giving extra money to. That's when you can do that. But don't just assume just because you get moved to a specialty that you're going to get more money. When I was called to help in my hospital in the pulmonary clinic, I had never coded for pulmonary before. And so when they said, well, Blue, we need somebody to go in and help because the pulmonary clinic's having problems, and we need somebody that's going to be able to investigate and really look into what the problem is in this clinic. So, okay, no problem. So I went in and I want to sneeze so bad. It is really windy here today, and so there's just a lot of stuff in the air. So sorry, guys. But when I was called over there, what did I do? I didn't say, oh, am I going to get extra money for this? Hold on. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. When I was called into the pulmonary clinic, did I ask, what's in it for me? Am I going to get extra money? No, I did not. I just went and did my job. I did what I was supposed to do. And you know what? I helped to pull them out of their mess that they were in. And we were able to get all of that situated and straightened out because I was able to take the time, dig, and look what the problem was. And it was an education problem for the providers. So that's all it took. That's all it took is for me to go in. But guess what now? I have pulmonary as a specialty on my list of all the specialties that I've ever coded for. I have education for providers, which I've always had, but to be able to have different specialties in mind and be able to say specifically, hey, I was able to help this provider or this specialty or that specialty, makes me look even more better. So again, I can go anywhere and I can do anything because it is what I have set myself up for in this career field. As far as like, this is what I have to offer. I have a lot to offer, and so do you. But it's all about, can you advocate for yourself, and can you do what you are supposed to be doing instead of just expecting like people to give you things and things like that, because it's never going to be. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to speak up and say, this is what I have. This is what I'm capable of. You need this? Well, then I need this. Because you have your whole list of things that you need as a coder to be able to, do your work and do your work well. So that's the thing that I want to say today is you have the ability to set the pace for your career, and you may not get it. Because I know I didn't understand it. In the first 6 years, I didn't get it. And then in that 6th year, that's when I had my aha moment. Because before then, it was like, hey, I have a good job. I have a good job. It pays my bills, keeps a roof over my head, food on my table. But I didn't get it. And then on that 6th year is when I had my aha moment. I find it funny because a lot of times people will tell me, oh, Blue, I had my aha moment too. And they're still a student. No, baby. You have not had your aha moment yet. You will get your aha moment once you get in. Once you get in, boots on the ground, and you start experiencing everything, you start experiencing change of specialty, you start experiencing change of supervisor, you start experiencing changes in your providers, and developing relationships with them. You will have really good situations happen where those will be happy memories for you. You will have times when a provider is upset and you are the first one in their way, and they're going to take it out on you, because I've had that before too. Okay, it's not the greatest feeling in the world. The first time it happened, I was like, ooh, that was like weird, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't expecting it. But I wasn't expecting it from that particular provider in particular, which is what caught me off guard. See, thinking about it, I stumble over my words, but it was what caught me off guard. Okay, but for other providers who have raised their voice and things like that, it doesn't matter, because when people do that, particularly providers, when they do that, it's not personal. It's because they don't understand. And because they don't understand, then, okay, we need to kind of work on a different way to approach the situation. So that's where you learn and you grow and you develop and you build your resiliency, okay? But then when you have situations where you have positive things happen, like to this day, and this happened last week, one of my providers that I worked with before, I'm going to sneeze. Oh. There it is. Woo. I managed not to sneeze earlier, and now I sneeze, so oh well. One of my providers that I had years ago just contacted me last week and said, hey, Blue, I really need your help. I can't reach my coder here, and I'm lost. I'm completely lost. Can you help me? Sure, no problem. We talked and we had a whole conversation, and I was able to provide education for him. And that was one of the most exciting and best things that has happened, because I like when people reach out, and especially my providers that I've had before, because most of them know that they are able to reach out to me at any time. It does not matter. I mean, if they have a coder at their facility, fine, great. But if they're not able to reach them, they can always reach out to me. And I'm always willing to provide assistance. So it's always nice to be called back on, from an old provider. But I've had this happen several times through email, through instant message. I've had it several times. And so, but it's always nice. It's always nice to hear back, and they know that they can count on you. And and they feel relieved, and you can feel that relief, like, oh, okay, good. I got this, because them selecting codes and them documenting and things like that, this is so important for them to do it correctly so that the coders can pick up what it is that they're trying to do. And if they get stuck, and they reach out to you, that's a compliment. That is such a compliment. So I'm just going to say that there. But there's those moments that you can enjoy in your career, okay? And the only way you're going to do that is if we stop looking at it, what's in it for me. And because I don't have that what's in it for me attitude towards, my work, I always receive, because I don't have that what's in it for me. So I get my joy, I receive my joy from what I do. This doesn't even feel like work to me anymore, okay? So like I said, you are in control of your destiny in your work. You are in control of your resiliency and how you take things. And not everything is considered a setback. And if you are in a place where you feel like you are being undervalued, right? Say, for example, you're working at a doctor's office. Like I tell y'all not to. I tell y'all not to because 9 times out of 10, it is the spouse that is running the office manager portion. And 99.999% of the time, this spouse has no background in coding, no background in billing, okay? They've just had experience in billing because they just submit the bills, but they've never been formally trained. That's 99.999%. So there's still a teeny tiny percent of people who have actually gone through a class. I tell my providers all the time, I said, when you leave me and you go out in this big bad world and you are out there and you decide to make your own practice and you decide to have your spouse as the office manager, well, then you better make sure that they go to coding school or that they go to a billing class. One of the two, because they need to know what it is that they're submitting. Because again, a lot of times you'll find that, and every time I mention it, somebody always tells me, yes, Blue, that is true. It is. Because again, they think they know and they don't know. You don't know what you don't know, okay? And this stuff is important. So that's why I say that, again, if you're out there and you're at a doctor's office and they're undervaluing you, can speak today, I swear. They're undervaluing you, and you are trying to get more money, and they say, oh no, we're not going to pay you anymore. You can take your experience, get your resume together, and start applying for other jobs. You do not leave that job, though, until you have another job lined up, till you have a start date and you're going to start over there at the new job. You do not mention anything about leaving or getting ready to leave. You do not post it on social media. You do not tell all your friends, because somebody's going to go run their mouth and say something to somebody else. And then it's going to get back to your supervisor or your lead or your boss or somebody. And don't put it on LinkedIn, because again, everybody on LinkedIn, there's 5 degrees of separation on LinkedIn. Trust me, somebody knows somebody that knows you. So don't be announcing it to everybody, but just do things undercover, so that way you can set yourself up for success, and then you can get out there and get yourself a better paying job. And if you tell me, well, Blue, no, at my place here, at my hospital, we have really good benefits. There's other places that have good benefits as well. So this is just an excuse that I hear when people say, well, it's the benefits is this, is that. Well, if you're going to a new place and they're paying you more money and they still have the same or comparable benefits or better benefits, well, then who comes out the winner? You. Because you should not keep yourself down because you're staying with this one place. And if you say, well, you know, I'm a loyal person, I'm a loyal employee, it's great to be loyal. However, we all know that if something happened to you today, that the next day that they would have your job posted, because it's not personal, it's business. And that's what a lot of you need to start understanding, is that this is business. And when you move on because you feel like you can make more money and another place is going to pay you more money, it's not personal, it's a business decision. That's what y'all need to understand. It is a business decision. It is not personal. Okay? So that's where we need to, you know, get focused on, because again, a lot of these companies are going to do what's best for them. If you were to start messing up on your job, they're going to let you go, because they need to find somebody that's going to be able to keep it up, you know, keep up with the good work at their facility. Not somebody who's all over the place or not showing up to work or doesn't care or just putting through with whatever. You know, they need somebody that can do the job appropriately. And if that's you and you're doing that and you say, well, it's not good enough, well, there's other places that will hire you. Trust and believe there's other places that will hire you. But again, having the victim mentality of, oh, I didn't get a raise twice, and I don't know, I'm burnt out. Well, this is where we need to take personal responsibility and accountability for ourselves and what we are doing. If you are not in a place that is appreciating you, you need to get your resume together, start applying, and then when you get that job, then you can leave that job and start in a new job. There's no sense in staying, because they're not going to all of a sudden see the light and start to pay you more money or start to appreciate you. They're not going to do that. So let's think realistically about that, okay? And again, if you have all this experience, you should be able and capable to do all these other things. And there was another lady that had posted about that she has all these years of experience as well, but that she can't get a job coding for certain things, and she really wants to do that, but she wants somebody to train her. And, you know, isn't it better if somebody takes you under their wing? If you have all these years of experience, it shouldn't take somebody taking you under their wing. You're not brand new. You're not new right out of school. You have years of experience. There should be no reason that you can't pick it up with some research. When I started here at my forever home, one of the first things that my first supervisor, who used to be a drill sergeant, one of the very first things that she said is that you're a certified medical coder. That means that you have been tested on and you have proved competence in all of these topics. So I expect if I put you in a new clinic that you're going to take a couple of weeks to learn the ropes about this particular clinic, to do your research, to get familiar with these codes, to get familiar with the anatomy, and then I want you to be off and running. That makes sense to me, because you are tested on everything. And they do make sure that you have a good grasp of all of these things, of anatomy and stuff like that. So those are the things that you should be doing. Whenever you're put into a new clinic, or whenever you're assigned a new specialty or something, then you need to start looking at all the things that are pertinent to that particular specialty. If you were assigned to the cardio clinic, you need to go to the American Heart Association and start learning all the things that you can about the heart, the anatomy of the heart, all the diseases that affect the heart, and how the vascular system works together in conjunction with the heart. You need to be learning about that. Then you need to be going over the cardiology codes in ICD-10-CM in that chapter, and also the cardiology section in the CPT manual, okay? You need to be looking through those chapters so that way you can familiarize yourself and get like, okay, you have some understanding of the codes that are available so that it's not, oh, well, I didn't know. Okay, then you could always go on Optum, optumcoding.com, not an ad, but they do have the coding companion for the specialties. They have it for podiatry, orthopedics. Orthopedics has 2 volumes, the upper and the lower, because of the different bones, different section. And the coding companion is fantastic because it gives you the CPT code, and then it gives you a description, a lay description of the CPT code. It also gives you all of the diagnoses that apply to that CPT code, and it also gives you like the RVUs and all that other good stuff with it too. And so it's telling you, okay, these diagnosis codes typically go with this procedure code and all of these things about that. So I love those books, and it is fantastic. It is a great deal, and especially if you are coding for a specialty, okay? So that's just one of those extra research help things that you could be using for yourself to get you, a better grasp. But again, we need to look at this career field for what it is. We need to build on as many different specialties as we possibly can so we can be proficient, so that we can sign our own ticket and go anywhere, okay? And not have the attitude of, well, I'm burnt out. Because if you're looking for me to sit here and convince you to stay, I won't do it. Because I feel like if you are already convinced that you don't want it, and that it's too much, and that you're overwhelmed and you're burnt out, there's nothing that I can say, and I'm not going to waste my time to tell you that, oh, you should stay, and beg you to stay. I won't do it, because it's got to be in you. This is a decision that you make of whether you stay or whether you go. And if you're saying these things to me on my channel, all I'm going to tell you is you have the ability to do and go wherever it is that you need to go, because you do not have to take bad treatment or undervaluing you from an employer. I was going to say provider. You don't have to take that, okay? But you do have to be smart when you are moving, as far as like moving a job. Then you make sure that you stay quiet, you apply, and then when you are called for that job and you get that job, then you put in your notice. But you never leave your job until you have another job, because that's just foolish to leave your job, and especially in this economy, okay, and not have a backup plan. No, don't do it, okay? So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. But your journey is what you make it. Same thing for medical coding. It is what you make it. If you want to be miserable at it, if you're saying, it's too hard, it doesn't make any sense, but yet you're not making any efforts to make it easier for yourself by learning more, well then, that's what you're going to have, okay? But if you say, no, I really want to understand this, and you buckle down and you start to study more, that's when you'll get it. I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.